Pavel Antonov, a Russian oligarch, flew to India with his fellow business partners to discuss multi-billion-dollar deals. What he didn't know was that his business partner, Vladimir Bidonov, would die out of heart problems. And a few days later, he will fall off accidentally from his hotel window and die. At first glance, it seems like there is nothing wrong with that. People die every single day for various reasons. But what I didn't tell you was that he had no prior history of having any heart problems. And 2 days later, his close business partner falls out of his hotel window? How often do you see successful business people with billions of dollars jump from their hotel windows? But that's not all. Dan Rappaport, the outspoken critic of Putin, was found in the streets after an apparent fall from a high-rising apartment building on August of 2022, just a month before that. Ravil Maganov, the chairman of one of the largest oil companies in Russia, was hospitalized for heart problems and depression, then fell out of a window in September of 2022. Andrei Krukovsky, the 37-year-old young Russian oligarch, fell off a cliff while hiking and passed away. What connects all of these accidents is that all these people are linked to Kremlin. They're either oligarchs who made billions of dollars by having close connections to Putin, or criticized Putin. And the list of people who accidentally fell off a window in 2022 is long. If you have worked hard to become a billionaire, would you jump out of a window to end your life? You have spent countless years building your empire, and once you have made it, does it make sense to throw it away? Aren't billionaires trying to find ways to extend their lives, to enjoy their wealth further? Or is there something we don't know? Did they really fall out of windows? Or someone else pushed them to do so? There are a lot of questions, but very few answers. So let's find out what really happened. If you want to find the richest people in America, you would go to Forbes.com and find out Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or Warren Buffett at the top of the list. The only way to make it to the top in the United States is to build a business that would dominate an industry. That's how capitalism works. It's the foundation of the American society. But unfortunately or fortunately, the rest of the world doesn't work like that. If you want to become a billionaire in Russia, you don't go to business. Business is for people who just want to make ends meet or a few $100 million at best. If you want to be at the top in Russia, you go to politics. That's where the real money is. Politics gives you power, and power gives you money, and money makes you rich. It's as simple as that. You start as a member of your ruling party. You work hard to be promoted to the top of the political hierarchy, and that's when you start building your business empire. With power, you get rid of your competition and handle government contracts to your companies, while your position in the government will give you all the immunity you want against any corruptional scandal. The journalists won't even dare to challenge your authority because the consequences could be deadly for them. Look at what happened to the journalists who heavily criticized Putin. Look at what happened to the political leaders who accused Putin of corruption. In the 1990s, a group of capitalists seized the opportunity and privatized the country's largest companies. They made dozens of billions of dollars through the help of the former president. We've made an entire video about them. However, what they didn't have is power. It is not the money that gives you power, but rather power that gives you money, at least in Russia. So, what do you think happened to them? Some of them were jailed, others were killed, and the rest submitted their will to Putin. The Magomedov brothers are Russian billionaires who made their fortunes by having deep connections with the Kremlin. They were financing Putin's press secretary's lavish lifestyle and a few other high-ranking officials. But then, when they became too overconfident and cut a contract with another government-linked company, Transneft, the CEO of Transneft, who is a close friend of Putin, told the president that those two brothers have become too overconfident and have cut an important contract. The next day, the brothers were arrested, their assets were seized, and they were jailed for 19 years. It is not just about Russia, but in countries like Saudi Arabia. The richest man in the country is obviously the king, but you won't find him anywhere on the Forbes list, especially his son, the crown prince. Any of the top billionaires in the United States is way wealthier than him. But when this guy became the crown prince, he got himself a $500 million yacht, a $300 million French chateau, and a $450 million Da Vinci painting. This guy had over $1.3 billion worth of cash sitting around that he didn't know what to do with. And now ask yourself, how many billionaires in the US can come up with $1 billion worth of cash? Their entire wealth is based upon their shares in companies they have founded. And if they start massively selling off their shares, the price will start plummeting immediately. So while most of the Russian oligarchs are not on the top of the Forbes list, they control companies that earn hundreds of billions of dollars and usually spend it on themselves. Ravil Maganov, the chairman of the national oil company Lukoil, had deep ties with Putin himself. Here is he receiving an order for serving Russia from Putin himself. He was building Putin's gas pipeline to Europe to make Europe dependent on Russia and had a straight connection to the president's office. No one could challenge his authority in Russia. He lived like a king. All he had to do was support Putin no matter what. However, when Putin decided to invade Ukraine, Ravil Maganov found himself confused. On one side, he had billions of dollars stored in Western banks, but on the other hand, his entire wealth was as a result of having a deep connection with the Kremlin. So in March 2022, he publicly declared that he is against Putin's war in Ukraine. Putin would never forgive anything like that. He has given you the opportunity to live like a real king, and here you are not supporting his decision to make Russia great again? So a few months later, in September, he accidentally fell off his hotel window. Alexander Tulyakov is an executive at Gazprom, Russia's largest oil and gas company that built Nord Stream 2, which supplies Europe with gas. Gazprom is Putin's main tool to influence the EU. On the 25th of February, just one day after the invasion, he was found dead in the garage of his St. Petersburg's home. His colleague, Leonid Shulman, another executive at Gazprom, apparently committed suicide 3 weeks before the invasion. They did not publicly accuse Putin of starting an unjustified war against the neighboring country, but they weren't loyal enough, and having unfaithful people alive during a war is just too risky, since the information they have might be too valuable to your enemies. Sergei Protesenya is another Russian oligarch who controlled Novatek, Russia's second largest gas producer. He had a personal net worth of $500 million and controlled one of the largest gas producing companies on the planet. But the moment he flipped on Putin, the consequences were catastrophic. He was found hanged from a handrail, and his wife and daughter were found dead in their beds with an ex besides them in his villa in Spain. According to Russia's officials, he committed suicide before getting rid of his family at the age of 55. Does that sound convincing? A day earlier, Vladislav Avayev, the former vice president of Gazprom, was found dead with a gun in his hand in his luxury Moscow apartment besides the bodies of his wife and daughter, who was just 13 years old. 2 weeks later, another executive at Gazprom fell off a cliff while hiking. On the 4th of July, Yuri Voronov, who is also an executive at Gazprom, was found dead with a pistol beside his body. In 2022, 27 Russian oligarchs who had direct links to Putin disappeared or accidentally fell off the window.